All right, hello. Hi there, I'm James Morgan. I'm Executive Director of Vegan Hacktivist. Really happy to be here today. See a bunch of familiar faces and some new faces too. I'm going to talk to you about AI, how you can use it, how you can integrate it into your work, some of the risks that we all need to be careful about and aware of. I'm hoping that you can leave this session equipped with knowledge on exactly where AI can fit into your workflows. I'm glad Matthew brought it up earlier today, the topic of AI. It really is a hot topic right now. It's moving super fast. Even I struggle to keep on top of exactly where it is today. Like every single week, things are changing. Just the other day, Robbie sent me a link to an AI tool that allows you to create songs in like a one-line prompt, and I spent most of the morning making joke songs, but they were really good. They were really, really impressive. But that's just one example of how quickly this technology is changing and what you can do with it. Yeah, I use it for so much. Personal reasons, work reasons. It's impossible to list all the different ways in which I use it. So I'm really confident that one way or another you can integrate it into your own lives really well. So a quick word about Vegan Hacktivist before we delve into AI. So we've been around for about 4 years now. We do a few things. One of those is software development. So we've been building tech platforms for the movement for a while. We've just built a grants management tool, amongst other things, and we've built around 80 websites for nonprofits in the movement. If you need a website, let me know. We can talk about that. And everything that we do for free. Most recently, we spun up a design studio, Violet Studios. We've always done design, but people didn't necessarily associate us with design and branding. So we're also doing design and branding for the movement for free. We've done that for a little while now. And we're also here to give advice. Tech problems often relate to quite expensive decisions. Sometimes you want to invest in tech and you stand to gain a lot from it. But if you're not sure, talk to us. We can help you make some good decisions, hopefully, and maybe save you some money in the process. So here's an outline for where I'm going to take this talk today. So right now, the way that we interact with AI today is still pretty basic. At the same time, it's accessible, it's free, and it's pretty low cost. Talking maximum maybe £20 a month if you want to get a premium subscription. So I'm going to explore ways that you can use that to further the goals of the animal protection space. I mentioned I'm going to talk about the risks and the limitations. But I think it's something that you can use in your organization, but your volunteers can use it. Literally anyone who's got a problem to solve can use it to get confidence in your decisioning and for your strategy. So I'm going to introduce AI. I know AI is in the news all the time. I'm going to give you a quick refresher on what it means to me. I'm going to give you some practical examples of applying it in ways to help you save time, to help you think and plan in your organization, to level up your campaigns, and also to better engage your volunteers, but also to be careful of how not to use it to alienate people. You don't want to lose your human touch with your interactions with important people like funders, like volunteers, for example. And then we're going to talk about something that's really quite new, which is using AI for video. This isn't available yet, but it's literally coming out the door any day or week now. And also we're going to look at imagery, and both ways will help you with your storytelling and your advocacy. So yeah, I want you to leave empowered to know that you can use AI. You absolutely can use it. It's not something to be afraid of. You just got to use it and navigate it the right way. So that refresher on AI. So imagine AI just as a digital assistant, right? It's as simple as that. So it's skilled, it's experienced in pretty much any task that you want to throw at it. If you want to craft narratives, if you want to analyze data sets being spreadsheets, nothing more complex than that, or you want to create content, AI is literally always there. It's just like loading up Google. You ask it a question and it'll give you an answer. AI responds to prompts. You'll often hear that term. Prompts are literally just the question that you ask the AI. Nothing more complicated than that. But just like Googling effectively, you might see people that Google with like quotation marks and semicolons, that kind of thing. There's a skill in honing your prompts for the AI. If you ask it a question that doesn't provide enough information, doesn't give it context, that kind of thing, it will give you a rubbish answer. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. And you've got to be very specific as well in your prompts. So as for specific tools, I've got two use cases split out here. One is thinking of AI as like a highly skilled personal assistant. 20 years ago, people were spending however much a year on a PA. You could spend £20 a month for the equivalent service, probably. And ChatGPT is probably the most well-known service here, but we've got others that are definitely worth a look. Your Gemini, which is from Google. You've got Claude, which is from Anthropic, which is a very big AI company. And you've got Veg3, which is like a mission-aligned ChatGPT equivalent that was built for everyone in this room. It tries to weed out those biases that Matthew brought up. And it's also free to use right now. All of these are free to use, but that's the price of the premium subscription, which I always recommend, because you get around some of the limitations around like complexity of the query, how many times you can ask AI questions within a certain time frame. So where you can, always pay for the premium subscription. And I've given you prices in dollars because some of these actually do charge in dollars. So make sure you use a credit card that doesn't charge you for currency conversion. So the second use case is as a creative assistant. So we've got Midjourney here, which can create some absolutely outstanding imagery based on your prompt. ChatGPT can do it as well, but doesn't do it as well as Midjourney. It's pretty comparatively quite poor. So if you're thinking of using AI a lot for visuals, definitely go for Midjourney, skip ChatGPT. Both will absolutely get things wrong all the time. You've got to check the output. But I really highly recommend Midjourney. Sora is coming soon. That's the video AI tool from OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, and they are going to absolutely change the world when it comes to video content in a good and exciting way, also in quite scary ways. What I was planning on saying at the beginning, but forgot, was that AI is literally going to change everything, about every single thing that we do. Got absolutely no doubt about it, whether that's today, next month, this year, next year. Jobs will change. Ways that we interact with companies and others, all going to change. We shouldn't be scared of change. We should be ready and adaptable for it. And it's an exciting time. But what I'm going to do, if the AV works, is I'm going to show you a quick video from Sora, and it's about a minute long. What I want you to remember the whole time is that literally none of this is real. None of what you're going to see exists. None of it was CGI. No one has curated the output of it. Right, so this is literally what an AI model has output based on a prompt. So let's see. And it doesn't matter too much if we can't get the sound working. It's more about the visuals. So the idea is like showing an almost David Attenborough-like documentary of hybrid animals that have been created. So we've got a giraffe and a flamingo there. That grass doesn't exist. That sky doesn't exist. It's literally all fake. And this is just a prompt to a machine. And that's what it's come up with. So what it's going to create are some challenges around authenticity with video content that we in the movement create. So it's going to be really important to consider how we navigate that. How do we prove that the footage that we're showing is real and it's not made up? And we're also going to be competing with bots, with other organizations, companies out there that are just going to be churning out AI video content on social all the time. We're going to have to find a way to not be drowned out in that absolute mix of content that's going to be out there. I mean, it's quite engaging. It's quite compelling. It looks real, doesn't it? AI has just been prompted to say, hey, create some hybrid animals, make it look like a documentary, make them walk around in their natural environment, and that's the end of it. And so, hopefully you get a feel for the scale of like where this is going. This is still very early stages. I remember prompting Midjourney maybe a year ago. I asked it to create a photo of my family's dogs running on the beach. It didn't look like dogs. It didn't look like a beach. A year later, absolute photorealism. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a real photo and AI's prompt. All right. Here we go. Okay, so as for the toolkit element of the session, I'm going to give you some practical examples now of how to prompt AI in the most effective way. Because for many people, that's like one of the first barriers is, well, how do I effectively ask AI questions? My first advice before I give any, actually, is to ask AI itself, the assistant, hey, how do I prompt you? Tell it like what you're trying to do. So otherwise, my advice would be to be really specific. So be clear and concise about your outcomes. Like if you're giving it a spreadsheet and you want it to analyze it, well, tell it what you're expecting. Tell it which columns of the spreadsheet are particularly, relevant to the analysis that you want it to do. So the more specific your prompt, the better the assistant can actually tailor the response. Context is super, super important. So give it background information about what you're trying to achieve, help it understand the bigger picture, help it understand who the audience is of like what you're creating, and you'll get a more relevant response for sure. Think about keywords, try to mix them in, so include those relevant keywords in your prompt so that you can actually guide the AI towards the type of like information that you're looking for it to analyze, and that's very, very important. A complex task, right? So AI is really smart, but it gets confused just like the average human. Like, don't throw too much at it at once. Try to break down what you're trying to achieve. Provide them in smaller steps for the AI, and then see what it comes up with, and then ask it questions. Be very, very clear. Ask it, "Are you sure?" or "How do you know that?" It's a great way to really explore like different avenues and refine the outputs. Using examples is helpful. I don't think this is as important as the other 5 points there. But if you provide an example of what you're looking for, like let's say you want it to produce a report, you might give it a template or say, hey, do this in maximum, X number of characters or this many paragraphs. Or tell it what tone you're looking for, professional, friendly, informal, that kind of thing. If you don't, then it's really, really easy to spot text that has been written by AI. It's so easy. So just be very aware of that, because the last thing you want to do is write something that you think is really compelling, share it with someone. It's a massive turn off when I read stuff from other people that is clearly AI when they're trying to engage on something that's important. So iterate and refine. So AI is always going to get it wrong until it gets it right. So just keep nudging it. Tell it what you want it to do, see that it's got it wrong, and then give it some clues on how to adapt. And hey, think about this differently. Say that exactly to the AI. Keep it positive. This is really weird, actually, but it was recently found that if you engage with ChatGPT or Gemini and you say please and thank you, this makes no sense to me, but it actually has been proven to give better quality answers. So it's just imagine a human, if you're really rude to them, and you're paying them, so they're doing a job for you, but if you're rude to them, you're obviously going to get a bit of a strained relationship there, and also not the best results. The same is true of AI. So be polite, don't be rude, please and thank you. My nan does this when she talks to her little Google speaker to get music on, so I'm inspired by that, to be very positive with AI. So here's an example of some prompting, trying to follow those golden rules. So I'm being specific here in, the use case here is trying to find someone to hire, a researcher, a data analyst, and I'm saying, look, the role is a fixed term contract. There's me being specific. Location UK, because employment law obviously differs country to country. I'm telling it that I'm an animal rights organisation, not animal welfare, and that's important because it needs to understand that to give you the best results. And I want to be careful about complying with UK hiring law. Numbered steps, always easier for us to digest. Otherwise, like ChatGPT especially has a habit, really bugs me, of just writing an essay. And I don't want that. I want to just read something in like 5 seconds. So yeah, just ask it for some numbered steps. We've got some iteration there. Do it again, but this job I'm also open to EU hires, and I'm telling it it's my first hire. So it's I'm asking it what else do I need to be aware of from a compliance perspective, and then it was quite nice actually. This penultimate prompt: are there any organisations that can help with finding the right hire? I asked. Maybe it was Gemini the other day, and it recommended animal advocacy careers, which was a really nice touch, which means that it's aware of who we are and the work that we do, and it's providing clearly contextualized advice. And finally, one example might be to share a job spec with it and see how it, whether it would make some adjustments for you. It could even produce a job spec for you. Say, hey, here's one, make one that's similar on this salary, tailored for this specific job. And it will literally do it. So, I know of cases in the movement, writing a job spec and hiring people takes a long time, and that's something you want to get right. Writing a job spec is, if you get AI to do it, and then it's done in, literally minutes, and then you can focus on the more important stuff. Okay, so we're going to talk now about saving you time. Like, how can you use AI to save time in your organization if you're an activist, advocate, and it's going to basically, you're going to be able to use AI just to help you move faster and not have to worry so much about if you've got a decision to make, about discussing it and exploring it in so many different ways. You can still do that, but often if you're guided by a smart personal assistant in this way, then often that can speed up decision making. So the examples might be a bit small, so bear with me, I'll talk them through. But yeah, you can use AI to identify trends in data that you give it, and that data can be a spreadsheet. That data can be exports out of any if you've got a CRM tool for newsletters or for lead generation, or even you've got a database of volunteers, you can throw that at AI and ask it questions do I have, here's a spreadsheet, here's my budget, do I have enough funding for the next year to hire someone on a specific salary? Do I have the budget the year after? Provide an answer in 2 lines. Both on the left is ChatGPT and on the right is Gemini. They always get the 2 lines and the 3 lines thing wrong, right? So that's something I've learned recently. Just say maximum 1 paragraph or maximum 200 characters, and the examples are a bit kind of basic. But I've given it a spreadsheet, and I haven't told it which columns to look at. I've just said, here's a budget, and it's looked at it, and it said, hey, this is your expenses, this is your income, so for this specific year. So yes, you do have enough budget, but the year after, you don't. And then on the right, we've got a study. I'm really lazy. I love a good study, but sometimes it goes over my head. So just give it a link. This is Gemini from Google on the right. It will read the study for you. It will summarize it. So that's really handy when you haven't really got time to read through. When you're doing research, you might have 10, 15 studies to look at. Before delving into the most important one, you can ask AI just to summarize, and then you can go, this is the one I need to look at in more detail. So you can absolutely do upload spreadsheets. Just be careful that you're not putting personally identifiable information in there. Don't tell it too much. Trust AI as much as you would trust Facebook, Instagram, which is only so much. But you absolutely can use it to do forecasting. You can add in your campaign performance data in there, and it will tell you based on time of day and any information you provide it. It can use that to drive the advice that it gives. So we've got content creation. Content creation means many things. Task automation too, but I'll talk through the examples as well because they're pretty small. But AI can craft some really compelling copy and like images. So, when it comes to newsletters, social media posts, imagery for social media, it can absolutely take the pain out of the process, but you absolutely must not rely on it as if it's the only copywriter, as if it's the only social media, image generator, because it will routinely get things wrong. You can then prompt it again to get it right, but like the outputs. So just an example on the left, I said, hey, look, I run a nonprofit. Volunteers can carry out street activism. It's coming up to summer. I want to send them a newsletter about the fact that it's summer. So, street activism is going to get a whole lot more comfortable. Here are some themes. Write a newsletter. So it's given me some great ideas, but I would hone that. I would shape it after it's done it. It's given me 4 bullet points. I'd maybe totally discard 1 or 2, reword them, because if you haven't already noticed, like I was saying earlier, you will notice soon. AI written copy will be so very obvious to read, even if you're telling it to take specific tones of language, or even if you're asking it to be precise or professional, whatever. There is a limit to how unique. It writes in a very recognizable way. Just be very aware of that. I use it all the time for email responses, but don't worry, if I email you, it's actually not the AI writing it. It's the AI just give me the text, and then I'm just cutting half of it out and then just only keeping what's relevant. Also for meeting agendas, if I know I'm meeting 4 people and I've got a certain amount of time and I want certain outcomes from the meeting, I can ask AI, give me an agenda based on the topic and the outcomes that I want, and they'll do it. And then it'll mean that meetings are run much more effectively. So on the example on the right is, hey, look, reply to this email thanking someone for, so basically it's a made-up podcast that's invited me on to talk, and I'm saying, look, reply and say thanks, but I'm too busy, can't do it, and it's done that. And then, you just edit it to make it sound a bit more human. So in that way, writing an email takes, 15 minutes, most people, 2 minutes, job done. Then you can answer another email. So thinking of AI as a thought partner, so AI can play a much deeper role in our advocacy. This is where being a thought partner comes in. And another word of warning, really, this is not about replacing the intuition that we have as humans, the creativity that we have as humans. We should also not dampen that. We should really try to embolden the creatives in our movement, in our space, to be to input their fantastic input. But this is about augmenting what we do and how we do it in certain ways. So it's giving another person a seat at the table, basically, that you only pay £20 a month for. It's a very good return on investment. And just giving them a seat at the table when we're plotting the next move. Again, being always very conscious that we shouldn't tell them about anything that we're doing that's illegal or might jeopardize safety of anyone. So always be careful of that. So I might always have ChatGPT or Gemini open on a browser. It's just always there. And so if I need it, it can just help me out. Or use it with colleagues. In a meeting, just bring it up on screen and together try and come up with the perfect prompts for the problem that you're trying to solve. So AI can be an idea incubator. So we looked at some examples of crunching numbers and managing tasks and small administrative things. But when you're looking for that big idea, AI can serve up fresh ideas. I, as a human, I'm shaped by my experiences, by my culture, by my past 34 years of life. But AI has got eyes on so many other things. AI has been fed by all of Reddit, all of the internet, all YouTube transcripts. So it knows things that I obviously do not know. So that's why I use it to give me some fresh ideas. And it's always looking at patterns. So what it will tell you will be based on what it thinks is best. And we might not spot those patterns in our own kind of bubble. AI can also be a strategic navigator. So you've got some complex decisions that you need to make, maybe an HR problem you're trying to solve, or you're trying to navigate the law. Still consult lawyers, still consult HR professionals, but it can help you weigh up options. It can help you consider outcomes that you hadn't thought of. And crucially, like if you're working alone on something, it can give you a bit of reassurance. And often it's that reassurance that goes a long way in helping you just move on with something. You know, that blank canvas problem that I have come across so many times. How do I start? Ask the AI, hey, look, I need to write a social media post about X. Or, you know, I've got a hire who's moving to Italy. How can I make this work still? Give me some ideas. So that's where I find it very valuable. I touched on it a minute ago, but campaign optimization, you can say, hey, look, my ads are targeting a particular demographic, not going so well. How can I tweak them based on the fact that I'm, you know, this is what I'm trying to achieve? It can do that. It can give you some ideas. You might say, hey, I'm having real trouble engaging like Tory politicians or something. Well, that's no surprise with them being Tory politicians. But, you know, hey, look, how do I get a politician interested in like farmed chicken welfare? You know, my constituency is in Norfolk. That's the type of information that AI can then go and dig into a wealth of data out there and come up with some fantastic bullet points, making you like more effective, more impactful, and less lost. Trade imports data. Matthew mentioned Nielsen data. It's always very valuable. Like honestly, throw anything in a spreadsheet and put it in AI, and it'll perform the duties that a very highly paid analyst might have otherwise done in the past. Reflection. So whenever we do work, we want to look back on what went well, what worked not so well, and it can give you some really harsh and brutal truths about stuff that you might not have otherwise really have felt comfortable to think about and address. So again, like you could use this as an independent, reflective partner where you can talk in, you know, effective confidence. You know, I'm mentioning not to share private information, of course, but you know, you can talk to AI, and then you know they're not gonna tell on you. That's for sure. So we've got some examples down here. Going to be too small, so I'll read them out. Propose an agenda for a meeting with these stakeholders. I want the outcome of the meeting to be ABC. We have 30 minutes. Sometimes it's as simple as that, and yeah, it'll come up with some good suggestions. I want to organise an online celebration of my volunteers. What ideas do you have for no budget? What ideas do you have for £100 budget? I've got 20 volunteers. That's the type of context that AI often works very well with. Help me write a theory of change for my organisation that does X, Y, and Z. Here is last year's theory of change. You might also say, you know, we are thinking about doing this, or we're thinking about working in this country or that country. And then finally, create an outline, including bullet points for each slide for a 30-minute presentation to British school teachers on the benefits of introducing veganism and animal rights into the classroom to age groups 5 to 10, and how might this be achieved. And then write a 30-minute script for those slides using a professional tone. So, you know, the output from the AI will be really useful here. I have said it a few times, but like, do not use the first output. Right? You absolutely must not. But it can just save you so much time. So I really encourage you to explore some of those options. Also, keep in mind that all of the images that you see were created by AI. They're not stock. I didn't pay for them. Another thing, like a lot of organizations have to pay like Shutterstock and similar. This cost me nothing. Like every other image is from ChatGPT. I don't currently have a Midjourney subscription, but some of my colleagues do. So there you go. We talked about campaigns briefly, like how can we use AI to improve your campaigns. We're also going to look at engaging volunteers as well. So like anyone who's familiar with campaigns, and that can mean many things. That can mean like literally ads on social media, or it can mean like, you know, you're trying to change policy. Just tell AI the problem that you're having, and what your campaign is, where you're looking for it to go. And you know, I touched on it earlier, but things like the time of day of the posts, the tone of the newsletters, any other variables that you might think you would otherwise give to like an ad agency or an advertiser to get right, like you save some money there. Experiment with it, and you can they can hone your approach to pretty much anything, like scheduling your posts. It'll give you the best time to do it, for example. Okay, what else? Volunteer interaction. So here's an advisory about chatbots. Like, chatbots are great. Use them, but use them thoughtfully. You might have already engaged with AI chatbots without knowing it. Like, let's say you need to talk to your bank for help, or you've needed some customer support. Often they are now like mostly AI to begin with, and then they might forward you to a human. I would really advise that you don't use chatbots to engage with people that you want to be engaged by your mission, by your work, because like after 1, 2, 3 interactions, that person is going to know that there's not a person on the other side. That's it. I mean, you can use it. You absolutely can use chatbots on like websites, for example, if people want to know stuff about your organization, rather than having them like navigate through your website. A chatbot could be there, and you could let the person say, "Hey, what does your work like? What's the goals of your work? Who works for you?" And then the chatbot can answer it. But most often, it's more effort than it's worth. Like, let's say there's 200, 300 websites in the movement, like it's absolutely not worth it to develop 300 chatbots for the movement at all. So if you were to ask AI today, how can I use AI to better engage my volunteers, it would tell you to make a chatbot. Like, don't listen. But you can use it to improve your communications. So again, like, often when you're dealing with volunteers, they're doing so many different things. You want to be really grateful for them. Also, you need to tell them what to do and where to be. Like, again, use AI to like come up with some drafts of perhaps some messages for, hey, look, we're going to meet here at this time, or thank you letters, for example. In fact, one thing I've heard from chatbots, I'll stop slating them in a second, but they've even been known, so they've been developed by major tech firms. Tech firms would have spent like 200 grand, 300 grand for a chatbot, let's say. And that chatbot might recommend products for a competitor, for example. So like that's right now, that's in 2024. Obviously those problems will go away in the future. But I'm trying to give you a sense of feeling for like where we are and what the limitations are. But matchmaking, I want to talk about that. So you want to find the best volunteers for your jobs based on their skills. You can use AI for that. Again, example of the spreadsheet, like you might have a spreadsheet of people, what their current job is, like their full-time job, for example, and what they've said they're particularly good at. Remove surnames, put it into AI, and say, "Hey, I really need help with this particular thing," and it will recommend people to you. So that's really valuable. AI will also tell you that you can use it in your training for staff. Don't do that either. Same problem with chatbots. Like, people really need the human touch. I would recommend instead, like if you're training people on a system or some of the work that you do, just like record a video. There's other services out there like Loom, which are really good for recording short videos, and just make sure that human touch is there. Otherwise, you will lose people's attention for sure. Okay, really important here, limitations and risks of AI. Matthew spoke a bit earlier about the biases. So, we've got to keep in mind here that preserving and protecting our identities and actions is really crucial. So we've got to navigate those limitations and the risks. As for biases, like AI mirrors the world it learns from. So it's learned from a speciesist world. So it's inherited all of those biases. And that's how AI is so smart. It's looked at all of the training data out there. It's looked at YouTube and Reddit and all that stuff, and it itself has learned what it believes to be right and what it believes to be wrong. So it makes mistakes all the time on gender, race, speciesism, you name it. Any prejudice that's out there, it tries to navigate it. And you can't get it to say something racist, for example, because it's coded in a way to stop that. But it's not coded in a way to stop like speciesist outputs. So yeah, be aware of that. Another shout out for Veg3, the vegan AI tool. It was created to like mitigate these biases. So if you need to navigate around that, then yeah, absolutely use Veg3. Over reliance. We should not over rely on AI. It's really tempting. It's a mistake I made in the beginning when I first used AI. I just use it for everything. Do not let AI take the wheel. Just let it be a passenger. So it offers two things. It offers efficiency, and it offers capabilities beyond human speed, which are great. But it should be done within the context of you are always in control. Like everyone here, whether you know it or not, you've got a unique language, you've got a unique approach, And both of those things should be clear in the work that you do that's supported by AI. Imagery, like look out for like extra limbs, does that all the time, still. So yeah. Also, sometimes it can mess up with data. So check numbers, check data all the time. Sometimes it gets a bit confused. So think of AI as a tool and not a crutch. That's what I want you to take away here. So human judgment is not just in the loop, but it's guiding the process. Also remember, AI has a habit of writing absolute reams of information. Less is more, whether you're using AI or whether you're just not. So don't just use the output just because it's there, just because you've got an A4 page of information on a certain topic. Trim it down always. Preserving human creativity. I mentioned at the beginning it's really important that we protect that. There is something still very uniquely human about our own creativity. We need to remember that at all times. Leaning too heavily on AI, it just dampens all of those sparks that come up with brand new ideas. And those are often ideas that come with ethical considerations and decisions. So we've got to amplify our own potential and not diminish it. We've got to be really aware of that. Ethical frameworks, don't overthink this. There are some policies out there in the wild that you can just copy and take some creative inspiration from. Some organizations have already drafted those policies. Don't overthink too much, like how do we or don't we engage with AI? It's pretty simple. Like I said earlier, absolutely do not give it personal information. Do not tell it about anything that you're doing that's illegal, that kind of thing. But if you're bringing AI into your organization, for example, you want to tell people just, don't over-rely on it and don't use it as a crutch. Intermittent monitoring, that is as simple as, let's say you say everyone in this organization, we're going to use Gemini for the next 6 months. Like 6 months later, review the landscape. The landscape, I promise you, would have changed massively. Even a few months ago, Gemini was not called Gemini, it was called Bard. It's not a big deal, but things change all the time. You want to make sure that you're using the right tool for the job. And also experiment, because it's so cheap. ChatGPT, $20. Gemini, about £20 as well. You could possibly explore having both and seeing how you get on with them. So when it comes to your storytelling and advocacy, AI can really elevate your narratives. It's emerging as a dynamic co-author, helping us tell tales that can be inspirational and can be really informative. And at the heart of this is imagery and, the imagery that you've been seeing in this deck, for example, and the video that's coming soon. So instead of spending money on photo shoots, you could, or for the rights on Shutterstock, for example, you could just use AI to create visuals that are engaging, that resonate with your audience. And just like with the ChatGPT, the text-based outcomes that you'll get, AI takes text-based prompts. So you say, give me an image. The prompts here will give me a profile image of a happy-looking pig, healthy-looking pig. Give me some studio lighting. It's pretty much the same prompt for here of an embodiment of an AI. Just one-liners. It's nothing really more than that. You can also give it existing imagery and ask it to tweak it as well. That's pretty cool. So same process. Give it context, give it information about the style you're looking for. I'm not a designer, but you can see we've got Robbie credited down here. He's an expert in all this stuff. If you know anyone who's experienced in photography, all of the different kind of things that you can, like the focal length, for example, you can ask it to hone the image based on focal length or soft focus or that kind of thing. And again, you don't have to be an expert in it. You can just ask AI, how should I prompt you for imagery? Give me some examples and it will do exactly that. Or you can, all of these could have been cartoons from the 70s if I'd asked it to. So you just got to be really specific. Something that I experimented with recently was creating recipe book ready images of vegan food. You can do that. So, that's a great way to save time, save money on a really expensive shoot. And you'll see in a second some examples which are not bad. And yeah, keen to get your thoughts on them actually. But something I want to come to now is authenticity. So we ourselves are authentic as a movement. We want to tell the truth. We've got to use AI to help us tell the truth. So we should never, for example, use AI to create images of factory farming conditions, because that's not true. It's not real. We should be anchored in reality, because otherwise, the animal agriculture industry has a playbook that they play against us. We're all very familiar with it, and sometimes they try to target us on claims of we've editorialized this, or we've used CGI. I wish we had the budget for CGI. We don't. But yeah, do not use AI for imagery that portrays like factory farming conditions or farming conditions full stop. Because again, still, like, it is possible. This image is pretty impressive. Well done, Robbie. But a lot of AI generated images you can still tell are AI generated. And with it, I guess an important thing to consider here is that you can really personalize what the images look like. If you know some very specifics about, or if you've learned them from AI, the specifics about who you're targeting, you can use that as a basis for the prompts for the image to say, hey, look, I'm trying to fundraise and I'm targeting retirees in Britain who live in this part of the UK, or who vote this way, for example. And you'll see that the outcomes are very different. If you say retirees who vote Tory, the outcome will be different to retirees who vote Labour, for example. So let's have a look at some more examples. Again, credit to Robbie for some of these. These are some of yours from Midjourney and similar tools. And again, if you're creating more than 20 images a month, just pay for the Midjourney subscription rather than using ChatGPT for it, because ChatGPT can be pretty weak when it comes to the images that it outputs. So it's a small bit on top left. We've got, center at the top, we've got a vegan chickpea salad. Kind of like the vegan tuna salad that we can make, giving it some ingredients. None of these are my prompts, but I just found them online. It looks pretty convincing. If you can't really see it, then I'll be happy to share the deck with you and you can have a look at the images. Top left, we have, what do we have? A pilaf. It's a really short prompt, actually. A Punjabi vegan pilaf, nicely laid out on a traditional, expensive plate. It's photorealistic. You can't tell that it's AI generated. We've got a very beautiful cow in a sanctuary. It's photorealistic. You can see actually after the prompt, cinematic, -V 6.0. Like, you see these in a lot of the prompts. That's like, I believe, photography language. Robbie, keep me honest. Yep. And then a really adorable image of some chicks all lined up. So that would be really appropriate to use for your campaigning. Bottom left as well is one of a cow in a sanctuary. It's very important and also frustratingly difficult to ensure that the people in the images that AI creates are like ethnically diverse. Often it will just create like blonde white people, so just be very conscious of that as well. So my advice is to experiment with the paid plans if you can. The free plans are pretty comparatively poor. Explore the areas where you can benefit from AI, like what the applications. Come up with some very basic guidelines on the protocols for using it, when to use it, when not to use it. Have like a half an hour run through with your volunteers or your staff. Be very cognizant of the limits that I keep trying to hammer home, and make sure you get that balance right between AI and human-created, human-centered outputs. Here are some pitfalls. Always, don't use AI without checking. That goes without saying, especially for issues that you could be sued for, like legal problems, for example. Don't provide sensitive information. Don't be generic. It's very easy to be generic. Just, you won't get what you're looking for if you are. And do not over-rely on it in fundraising. It's a huge turn-off. Same with copywriting. Just make sure you got that human touch. Here's an image of a notepad. You can't see it here. Maybe it's a bit pixelated as well. That's not English. That's not any language. It's total gibberish. It's like messed up some of the lines. It's got, that is an example of, I purposely introduce an okay-ish AI image so you can see that, like, sometimes this is what we're dealing with. Is you'll get a absolutely beautiful image. It looks really cool. It's a realistic-looking pen, realistic-looking notepad, but none of that makes any sense. And currently, you'll have a hard time getting AI imagery to include text on it. It gets it wrong all the time. So don't try asking it, because it will mess it up. I've got some frequently asked questions here. Do I own the copyright of AI-generated materials? It depends. It depends on where you are and what the AI tool is. But the answer was broadly yes. But things are really evolving very quickly there. I don't think I need to repeat that we need to be careful about data protection. I'll skip over that. Something I want to tackle here, actually. What's the difference between AI assistants and AI tech that's often mentioned in the media? They are two totally different things. AI assistants are literally just ChatGPT, Gemini, and Veg3. They are there just like Google to answer our questions. They use AI. That's how they create the answers. But a lot of companies right now are exploring, they're spending absolutely insane amounts of money on developers to develop tools that might, for example, I'll give an example actually, it's an interesting one. Amazon in their supermarkets, which I think they're now closing, you could go in, pick some products up off the shelf, walk out, and you didn't have to worry about checkout. So yippee, Amazon has saved like, I don't know, £80 a day, £90 a day on one checkout staff person, right? And the AI imagery, there would be an AI that's coded to read the photography and the videos that are coming from the store. It would check that if I went in there, I picked up a bag of rice, put it down again, but then picked up some chickpeas and walked out, it would only charge me for the chickpeas. That's the kind of thing that some companies are doing out there. It's incredibly expensive. The average salary of a developer in the AI space is easily multiples of six-figure salary. So it's a non-starter. Can we hire AI devs? Not at that salary. Hopefully, mission line runs, yes. But just to come back to that example of Amazon, it's totally phony. Right, so if anyone's been in that Amazon supermarket, the AI is something like 30% accurate. So what Amazon was doing was it was paying 1,000 people offshore to look at the videos of you shopping and ticking if it got it right, or picking an X if it got it wrong, because it was getting it wrong 60, 70% of the time. So it's quite a funny anecdote about where we are with AI. Like that said, like if Amazon stuck at it for another year or two, it probably would have cracked it, and it wouldn't need that army of 1,000 people doing it. But I think it's an interesting, indicator of even one of the most valuable companies in the world still cannot get it right. But it's learning. Like that's the point of AI. It's going to learn off of all of that footage. But there we are. Do I need to know how to code to use AI? Absolutely not. Like, please think of AI as just like using Google. If you want to build something, then yes, you need to know how to code. But I don't think anyone's really going to be venturing with that right now. So no, absolutely anyone can use it. If they can use a keyboard, if they can use a phone, they can use an AI assistant. Can AI replace humans in activism? It can't, and it won't, but it can help us, and that's where it can come in. Will AI affect jobs? Yes, it will. I don't really know how right now, and hopefully it's changed that we'll adapt to, and we'll, just like how computers come along, and now it means that we're not wasting time with replacing the ink on our typewriters anymore. We are getting faster and more impactful in our work, so I imagine that certain roles might disappear, or they might be less prevalent, just like there aren't any typists anymore necessarily, apart from in courtrooms. But it will mean, we're all very skilled people, and I'm sure that we can always offer something that's incredibly valuable, so don't worry when it comes to jobs. And finally, just a few ideas about AI in the movement. I've mentioned VEG3. I know Matthew mentioned AI earlier this morning. We've got OpenPause as well, which is a non-profit that's training and deploying open source AI systems that are free from bias. It's a big task, absolutely, but they're working hard on it. Animal Friendly AI is also prototyping an AI model. Kyle Berend is a really smart guy who built a comments generator that you can use. You can just load the link into your browser, and what you can do is you can give it an article about veganism, let's say, and you might want to comment on it, but you might have run out of ideas because we're all exhausted activists. You can ask it to say, hey, give me a comment that I can put on an article, let's say on Twitter, along these lines. It's a really powerful tool. And finally, I do actually have a link to some guidelines from some organizations on how to integrate the policies that they have implemented for AI. So if you want to see that, let me know. It is in the public domain as well. So you'll be free to take some creative inspiration from that. Okay, so we're at time. Thank you.
Yeah, we've maybe got time for 2 or maybe 3 questions, depending on how long they take. So if anyone wants to put their hand up, we've also got 1 or 2 on the app.
Hey, great talk. Thank you for sharing that. So when I was first watching a video on YouTube a couple of years ago about AI, I watched this person who was an expert coder use ChatGPT to make a copy of Flappy Bird. And it was quite mind-blowing. And I realised that within 10 or so years, my mum could do that. My mum's quite a technophobe. I want to ask you, when was the time when you realised, what was your oh shit moment?
I have them every day, actually. I had one yesterday when Robbie sent me the link to the website for creating AI songs. Robbie, what's the website? suno.ai. I encourage you all to leave this room, not now, leave this room, load up the webpage and say, write a song about a prompt. I did it about my family's cats, and it was crazy. But I've had many of them with the videos. You saw that video earlier. Like if you go onto OpenAI's TikTok, they've got loads of videos there that they've created with Sora. I am both scared and excited. I know that within 6 months, I could say to AI, create 2 more seasons of Breaking Bad for me, and it wouldn't do it actually because it's coded to not break copyright law, but it could. Film studios could do that absolutely, and the AI engine would spit out for some brilliant episodes. So to answer your question, I think it was my first interaction with ChatGPT. I didn't ask it to code, but what really captivated me was seeing how I'd ask it to do something. And then I would just say, do it again in French, or do it again as if you're Johnny Depp. And it would just change so drastically the answer, and it was a convincing answer. And also, I've got relatively short attention span, like being able to see like bullet points for stuff that I would have otherwise have had to sit down and just trawl through information, like research studies or news articles. 4 bullets, job done. I know what the article's about now. So I've had many moments, and we're going to have more, I'm sure. Yeah, totally.
Cool. I'll just quickly do one from the app. So we've got, how do we overcome AI only learning from older reference? For example, I often see ChatGPT isn't aware of world events after 2020.
Yes, I think the paid plan is aware of events up to maybe last year. So again, that's another incentive to pay for the premium option. You don't always, historical context isn't always the most important thing. Like that 3-year difference isn't going to change a whole lot. And other AI tools do have web access, so they're like close enough to real time. We've got some raised hands. Are they for more questions or for?
Yeah.
Is a search engine that is driven by ChatGPT algorithms kind of thing, so it can access things in real time. So essentially what it does is it basically just Google, you ask it a question, it Googles the question, reads the top 10 responses and just summarizes them with references, so it gives you real time access there.
Thank you.
We probably have time for one more.
Thanks. Yeah, I do graphic design and video, so I'm trying to get to grips with AI because I know it's going to render me obsolete eventually. But like my ethical issue with it is the demand for data centers. I'm from Ireland, and so our government has just like given the keys to the country to big tech in terms of being an offshore tax haven, but also they're building so many data centers which use up so much water and power and is terrible for diversity as well as the climate. So have you had to wrestle with that? Or
Yeah, and I think we all will for a while. Yeah, it's absolutely an environmental challenge. Like one thing that I haven't mentioned is that these AI models run on like incredibly expensive hardware that none of us in this room would ever be able to come close to affording just as a one-off cost. Like some of the machines might cost like 30 grand for just one little chip. They generate a lot of heat, and yeah, it's tricky. It's really tricky to navigate. There is I forget the name of the law, and I should, but there's a law that basically states that every X number of years, like the tech becomes X amount more efficient. Those GPUs, the hardware that's in those data centers will be more efficient in no time at all. I've absolutely no doubt about that. But in the meantime, like it is a reality that if you're using AI, you are contributing to some environmental problems. So yeah, it's another thing to just be conscious of, certainly. Yeah, you've got to weigh up like the benefit that you get from it, but the impact, the environmental impact, currently sounds like maybe a bit localized to Ireland, but that's short term. Like obviously, it's going to impact the whole world. So yeah, it's worth being aware of.
I think that's probably. Do you want one more?
Well, I just had one question. So, yeah, you give us some examples of vegan AI application, but are there any industries working in AI tech for veganism? Because I was reading about digital twins, and I think there's loads of possibility in the application of that in like pharmas and other really toxic industries. I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, the meat industry is already using AI, and it's using it in different ways, and it will keep like innovating. It's got bucket loads of cash, so it hasn't got some of the limitations that we do. Yeah, AI could absolutely be used to like further our goals, whether that's in food production, vegan food production, or in our advocacy, any element of what we do. The challenge is in convincing them to do it at the opportunity cost of them not doing something that will make them crazy amounts of money. So that's the challenge that we are faced with, I think. Yeah.
Are there any like startups that are looking at this space specifically from a vegan lens?
There are, yeah. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I will have a look and let you know if you're interested. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thank you for coming to the talk. If you've got any other questions, feel free to approach me anytime. If you need a website, you need a logo for free, also let me know. Yeah, really happy to see you all, and thanks to the organisers. Thank you.